Y'all, let's talk about the differences between situationship and relationships. The dating culture today is terrible. It absolutely is. My goal is to get us out of the situationship into better relationships, right? And relationships into, of course, us having great, fulfilling sex lives, especially as we get older. I think it's more important, because I feel like dating was easier in our 20s and 30s versus our 40s, 50s, and 60s and beyond, right? And so, since my audience is typically more mature people at least 40 years old, I just feel like we have got to learn how to date better so that we don't just end on this long standing cycle of situationships. First, though, let's talk about what's the differences between situationships and a relationship. Relationship is something that we all want, right? When we're getting out here and we're starting to date, we want a relationship. But for the vast majority of people today, we're ending up in situationships. Yes, even my mature clients. The main difference with a situationship is you're going to end up staying in phase one of a relationship. For background information, and I could do a separate video on this, there are 5 stages of a relationship. The first stage is the honeymoon phase. And because we don't want to hit conflict, because we don't want to talk things out, because as soon as a little stress enters the dynamic between me and you, we're out. So a lot of people like to stay in that phase one, the honeymoon phase. Why? Because that's the phase that makes us feel good. And that's what happens when we avoid conflict. We avoid vulnerability. We avoid opening up to somebody. Y'all, we stay in the honeymoon phase. And then next thing you know, we have a long standing situationship. Situationships feel comfortable. They feel comfortable, they feel fun. They avoid drama, they avoid conflict, they avoid arguments. You knew what this was. I'm just still getting to know you. I'm still trying to learn you. I just got out of a relationship. How about we just chill and kick it? You come over my house, we watch Netflix. You go to my house, we watch Netflix over there. I stay at your house sometimes, you stay at my house, but we don't really commingle our lives. We don't go through the fire together. We don't have disagreements and where we come out and work through the disagreements together and we're better together. No, we hit that bump in the road, we hit that disagreement and we're deuces because this is feeling too much like of a commitment for me. So I'm going to just exit left. Some situationships, yes, you do meet the other person's family. Absolutely. Sometimes you might even be introduced as their special friend at the cookout. Okay, don't be that special friend for so long, their person passed away, and then you on the obituary saying, hey, this is his long-standing, lifelong special friend, Tracy, right? Situationships can absolutely get you to stay there. Now, is there love in a situationship? Absolutely. You can have deep feelings for somebody in the situationship. Now, will both people at the same time have the same deep feelings for one another in the situationship? The answer is probably no, because one person is trying to keep that situation here, right? They're trying to keep it realistic. They're trying to keep it that baseline to say, well, as long as we stay along this, as long as, hey, I don't do this, or I don't tell her or him that I love him over and over and over again, then it's comfortable. I'm good with this. This makes my nervous system feel good. And that's what situationships do. We date to keep our nervous systems from overreacting, right? Because we're trying to avoid the triggers. We're trying to avoid the stress that is causing us to feel like danger, danger. And that's the thing. Situationships don't get out of phase one. Sometimes they may get to phase two of the relationship, which is the doubt and denial phase. This is when you're starting to question, is this something that I want to stay in? Is this a relationship that I want to pursue? And a lot of times relationships may end here. But the majority of relationships do end in phase three. Again, I will do a separate video about the 5 stages of a relationship. But situationships, when things start to get challenged, when you're starting to really see your person for who they really are, that's in phase two, stage two of the relationship. And it's where the graveyard comes out, where a lot of situationships die. Because now you have to face the not so pleasant side of your partner. Now you have to sit there and analyze, I don't know if I like this. This ain't something I want to deal with. And therefore, what happens? One of you checks out. There's no commitment in a situationship. If this is the first time to my channel, y'all, I did not properly introduce myself. I am Vee Mindful. I'm a relationship coach and published author. We talk about everything related to relationships, sex, intimacy, especially for the mature adult 40, 50 and over. Why? Because we sometimes have a different set of issues. Let's have open, candid conversations. Because I'm telling you now, as somebody who has children that's almost 30 years old, I don't be relating to them 25-year-olds. They got coochie and penis right at the tip of their fingers on these dating apps, right? And a lot of us prefer not to use these dating apps because they feel so impersonal. So if that is you, any of that is you, y'all, and if you had a colonoscopy, if you ain't had your colonoscopy yet, let me remind you that it's due. Y'all don't play around with your health. Okay, don't play around with your health. Why are so many dynamics of our relationships headed towards situationships instead of a relationship? Because you don't have to be vulnerable. You don't have to get hurt. You remind yourself, you knew what this was. I knew what this was. I'm continuing to get to know you. There's no vulnerability. There's no trust. There's no let's work through this. There's no conflict resolution. There's no commitment in a situationship. And you know what? You live your life. I live my life. A couple of times a week or a couple of times a month, we're going to come together. We may talk every day so that I can feel less lonely, but there's no commitment for you to be there in your darkest days. There's no commitment for me to be there for you when you have to have knee surgery and then I have to take care of you. I don't have to because it's a situationship. A situationship is very attractive to a lot of people because why? They feel less lonely. Isn't that why a lot of people are out here dating? To feel less lonely? But what are you not going to get in a situationship? Why do people actually want a relationship instead of a situationship? We want that commitment. We want somebody to be there for us in our darkest days. We want somebody in our corner when that emergency contact card we have to fill out. We want to be able to put our partner, our lover, our spouse in that field, right? Those things come with sacrifice. Those relationships come with going through at least the first three stages of a relationship. You can't get to that level of peace and that level of commitment until you go through the fire, until you learn how to deal with conflict resolution, until you get on the same page as me, Jamie, me, Amy, right? Y'all remember that gorilla? One thing you're gonna get on this channel is me. If a line to a movie pop up, y'all, I'm gonna say it. Me, Amy, me, Amy. Anyways, and that bond that I'm with you through the thick and thin, right? That I'm here for you. I want to get to know you. I genuinely want to be in your corner. Y'all, that comes with sacrifice. That comes with not being selfish. That comes with having the ability to look beyond yourself and look at the other person. Now, do all relationships get past stage 3? Hell no. Most relationships die in phase 3. And if my situationship gets past phase 3, am I in a relationship? Does that mean marriage? No. First of all, most situationships are not going to get there's no way in hell you're going to get to phase beyond phase 3, because if you do, then you're not in a situationship. Y'all, being in a relationship absolutely takes sacrifice. It absolutely takes us really getting to know each other on a deeper level. Men and women. This is not a men or this is not a bashing men, a bashing women video. The thing is, more people have risk and live in risk adverse instead of risk reward, right? We don't take action. We don't move forward. We don't tell somebody how we feel because we fear rejection. We fear getting hurt. And because of that, our nervous systems are designed to say, no, 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 don't do that. Don't take 2 steps forward because you might get hurt. You might get rejected. And so therefore we don't ever go forward. A lot of people aren't going into a relationship because they fear the rejection. They fear putting themselves out there. So what feels more comfortable, y'all? The situationship. There might be, oh, I'm digging this person. But how can you love somebody you don't even know? Anybody can put on their presentation of themselves for a long time. 6, 7, 8 months, a year, 10 years. When you don't ever have to work through something together, when you don't ever have to go through some type of situation together, y'all, you don't know this person. You don't. And so therefore, you stay in a situationship because why? It does not disrupt your nervous system. It does not cause you to have to face your own triggers, your own insecurities, your own adjustments, and your own compromises that you have to make yourself. Y'all, situationships is taking over. How can we avoid situationships? One, first of all, y'all could start attending my free webinars. I'm having free webinars very often. The link is in the description below. I coach people to date better, to date with intention. When I have conversations with people about relationships, I'm realizing that we're dating wrong because how in the world did you end up here? In this situation in your relationship, there are so many things that I feel like we are missing when it comes to dating properly. And so that's why I want to teach and help us date and connect so that y'all, when we get into these relationships, when we get down and start having this beautiful sex, because I talk about sex on this channel, I absolutely do, because you know what? That's a part of the relationship. Don't sit here and tell me y'all ain't out here hunching, because you are. Like I tell people, I don't have the same coochie that I had when I was 25 years old. Oh my gosh, if I could bring her back, y'all, I would. I had a wonderful one. She gone. Okay. And what you got is what you got. That's all I'm going to say. But I talk about all of that because I want us to have better connections. We're on the second half of our lives and we got more days behind us than we got ahead of us. I say all that to say, y'all, dating, learning how to date is what's going to connect you to the best relationship possible. Another way to avoid living in situationships and actually moving towards relationships, you got to stop making yourself available for a situationship. You have to learn how to identify what a situationship is. And then once you really do, and once your triggers and your those warning lights, once you calm those down, right? Because y'all got to know what one looks like and feels like. Once you do all of that and work through all of those traumas, right? You have got to stop being available for a situationship. But I know a lot of that's going to go completely over a lot of people's heads because you haven't worked through your triggers and your traumas yet. Right. And I get it. I get it. I've been there. I've been in a million situationships, right? I have, because I'm still the same person who went on a few hundred dates with a few hundred men, right? During the time period when I was out here dating. So I get it. And as somebody who's had an avoidant attachment style, you think I ain't the queen of situationships? Yes, because they made me feel comfortable. They didn't make my spidey senses go off. But the fact is, you got to work through your trauma and your triggers so that a healthy relationship feels more normal to you than a situationship. And I'm going to leave it right there because that is key. That is how you stop ending up in a situationship. That is how you learn what a relationship really looks like and feels like when you stop accepting stuff that don't align with where you're going. And I'm going to see you in my next webinar.